First of all, I just want to say thank you so much, Angie Rose, for joining us on the SheHH Podcast. This is really big. I feel like you don't understand how excited I am and the team and even just our listeners to have you on here. So I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself and just let us know a bit about you.
Well, one, thank you so much. I'm honored. This is cool. I'm glad to be here chatting with you. It's always special to me when I get to speak to somebody that's like across the world. Like, it's a cool feeling. But yeah, I'm a Puerto Rican girl from the Bronx. I love Jesus. I love good music. I love hip hop. I love people. And I kind of live my life based on that truth. You know, I try my best to use my music to uplift people, to also have a good time, to smile, to see who God is in different forms and fashions, you know. So I guess that's the long and short of it.
I love that. And you're being real humble about, you know, I make music, I love music. You've been in this game for a while, and I was going through your discography on Spotify, and you literally had a single called Unstoppable in 2015, and now we're here at the tail end of 2021. An absolute blessing that you've still been doing music consistently, might I add, for like 7 years. But can you tell us a bit about the journey from then till now? Like, how has Angie Rose changed?
Man, so much. So when I first dropped that single, that was like probably my first or second song that I ever wrote. You know, I had written like free verses. I've always loved hip hop for real. Like, I used to write rap songs and all that. Since I was a kid, I used to try to be like my big brother. When I was like 8, I used to sit by his feet and just pen my little raps. But then as I grew up, it was kind of a therapy for me. But I still never wrote songs, right? I just wrote verses. I'd write sermons. I'd preach a lot in church. I'd write like fun little hooks to sing in church, but never songs. So Unstoppable and another song called Bright Lights were the first kind of 2 songs that I had ever written, outside of like a freestyle that I wrote for a DJ at the time. So, I mean, so much has changed. One, now I kind of write songs. That's a really fun thing. It's kind of the thing that I get to do the most. It's kind of got me traveling the country right now. So I've learned kind of to count the bars and to, you know, fall in love with the strategy or the skill of it. But also I've had to go through so many hills and valleys, right? I've had to mature as like, going from like a young college kid who was, you know, deer in headlights when it comes to like a genuine relationship with God, I want to say. And I've had to learn that over these years, and I've had to learn that kind of out loud, talking to people the whole time, writing songs, opening after school programs. I tried, trying my best to do things, or running a foundation in Puerto Rico. I've had to like learn in front of everybody, if that makes sense. And it's gotten me cool with the fact that I'm not perfect, but God is. So that's where we are today.
That's good. Wow, I'm not perfect, but God is. That's really good. And this is obviously a space of like 6 or 7 years. You know, there's a lot of growth as a woman, as a human being. And right at the beginning, you said, you know, you're a girl from the Bronx. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to Google what the Bronx was. I was like, the Bronx.
Oh man.
But you're from New York City, and you've got Puerto Rican blood in you as well. How has, being from the Bronx, being the Puerto Rican girl, influenced your style, your music, and who you are?
A ton. Yeah, I think being a Latina from the Bronx is probably the biggest sound, the most consistent sound in my music. Mm-hmm. So what that means is, I guess, the party side, the Latina is the festive, the fun, the drums, the horns, all that, the loud stuff. And then the hip hop is clearly the Bronx, but R&B is also the Bronx, like those soulful, older sounds. My parents are not, I'm the baby of 10. My parents are not young, right? So that's the style of music that raised me is vast. my big brothers put me onto R&B, like, and I mean the real, like Jagged Edge, Jaheim, like that's what the Mary J. Love Mary J. Blige. But then my parents, it was like Isley Brothers, like just different sounds. Puerto Rican salsa, like so much salsa, like bachata, merengue. So I think all of those things are because I was raised as a Latina from the Bronx.
Yeah.
And often you'll hear them in my music hints.
No, definitely. And it's even funny you mentioned about like you started naming different types of like salsa, merengue, etc. Yeah. So okay, I'm always getting really nervous when I speak to a Spanish-speaking person or Spanish, a Latina or a Latino because I get really nervous. I'm learning Spanish. I get really like nervous when I'm like, when I say that, they're like, "Oh, what can you say?" And I'm like, hola. So this is where I say, like, as a person who really appreciates the language, like, el español es un hermoso idioma, and I literally like love it. So I'm really excited.
That's good.
Thank you.
You did your thing. You sounded like a real Latina. You had the accent and everything. Get it? Yes.
Oh, no, you gassed me. You actually gassed me. I'm so excited.
Oh, man. Keep going. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wow. But no, in like La Verdad, like for real, the language is stunning. It's beautiful. It's passionate, and I feel like that really it comes across in your music a lot.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to see, like, what is it like being a bilingual artist, especially because obviously being in the States, a lot.
I'm learning, still learning. I actually don't have as much Spanish music out as I will have, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm speaking Spanish a lot more. I went to Puerto Rico a couple years back with the foundation. We were able to open like 9 distribution centers, and FEMA helped us, and we did concerts. It was fun, right? But I only had like English rap music for like Christian Spanish church folk, or like people from the hood that only spoke Spanish. So they would like the flow, and they're like, yeah, sí, bien brutal, right? But they would be like, I don't know what you're saying. Yo no sé lo que tú dices, pero Juanita sube. And I'm just like, okay. So I wanted to, So I wanted to try to get more Spanish in my music. So I've been like, me too. I've fallen in love with the language. I watch like Spanish novelas now. I'm like with my little coffee. Yeah, I'm so into it. Have you seen Queen of the Flow?
Are you joking? That's what I'm watching?
So that's the wave. So I've got so much. I just yesterday was in the studio. There's an amazing artist I love. Her name is Lisi Para. She's from the Dominican Republic. Yeah.
I love her.
Oh, wow. Okay, so she's from the Dominican Republic. She's a pastor. She's amazing. So we worked on something yesterday. I can't say the release date. I don't want to get in trouble, but that was fun. All in Spanish. I think she was like, can you throw some English? So I said a little bit, but it was so fun. It's just, and Orlando's a great space for like Latin music too. There's a lot of people out here that speak Spanish that love the urban, like la música urbana. It's fun over here. So.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, you said you're going to be releasing more Spanish music. I mean, the time we're recording this, it's Christmas time. And you've actually released the Christmas song.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about the process of writing that Christmas song, in Spanish? It's Navidad. There we go. So can you tell us about that?
So that was fun. That song was an idea that came to mind, and it took a lot of hands, if that makes sense, to get it to the final moment, right? The deadlines were pushing on us. I am signed to a label, so they'll like make me submit my records a couple weeks before we even want them to be released. It's like a whole process. So I was like running around every state. Like I've been traveling so much, looking for the right producers, people that spoke Spanish, because a part of it was already going in that direction when I started the melody and the lyric. And then I got to work with a producer in Cali, but we didn't get to finish it. I had to leave. And then I locked in with a producer in Atlanta who was actually Spanish. His wife was Spanish. So we wrote the hooks together. We sung the hook together. I recorded it in a closet, and then I left. And we were like, oh my goodness, we have to finish this song. We kept trying to meet up. We finally got it through. I called Town Nixon on the Alta. they're like, hey, we love it. Can we speed it up a little bit? I'm like, oh my goodness, we can. But now I've got to go re-record. It was a whole process, but it kept just evolving. The more that it happened, we ended up in DR. I brought my parents out with us. We did a video. All things work together for the good is the truth of that record. So that was a blast.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Spanish language, and I love that it's been incorporated a lot more into what we were already listening to, you know, the urban Christian music, the style that we enjoy, the rap, you know, even not just the rap, but like the whole kind of urban sound that is coming out from our generation. I think it's such an encouragement. And we always talk about this on SheHH, that we're not just a English speaking platform. Like, this is for the world. This is for women all over the world. And it's interesting that I say that because you are a big fan of collaboration. Like, I was going through your Spotify and you've collaborated with people from all over the world, like literally. And then you had like the deluxe album, obviously Unstoppable, with United We Are. We can.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, United We Can. And I'm like, she really be doing unity. Like, this is the whole world. Can you just tell us a bit about why collaboration is so important to you?
I think the realest truth is probably that I didn't believe that I could be an artist, like a real thing. Like, I thought that this was like a side thing, right? I never thought it could be like my career, that I could live, like that God would allow for this to be how I live. You know, it's blown my mind since I've started. But there's a lot of artists that I look up to, and I'm just like, you're really good. And I love relationship. I love spending time with people. So when I do, like, some artists I wasn't able to get in the studio with, but for the most part, a lot of the stuff that I've done and I've been doing has been based off like cool relationship and actually getting to vibe. And I think that kind of just makes you better. It's the iron that sharpens the iron thing. And, you know, I'm just kind of enjoying that and appreciating that, especially with people of faith. But also people that don't believe, that I get to share the space with and have really cool conversations with. So yeah, I think it's just 2 or 3 are gathered, you're going to get something that you can't get when it's just one.
That's true. Wow. I think I was really surprised when you did that collaboration. I think it had One Day on it. It had Limo Blaze. This is insane to me. Like, you've done it with Kingdom music. Like, you've really gone outside of a lot of American artists, you know, who are big fans of collaboration, collaborate within the United States. When you start going to the UK and to Nigeria and to like other countries, South Africa, I'm like, this person genuinely does care about sounds coming together. Because at the end of the day, we are one kingdom. And I just wanted to commend you for that. Like, we really...
Oh, thank you. There's just so much talent out there, too. And it's fun. Joshua Wyhan, I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong. But he's a dope producer. He's J1W. He's out in the UK.
That's my guy. I know Josh. That's my guy.
Okay, boom. So we've been connecting for a long time. When I was struggling through depression and trying my best to get out, he didn't even fully know. But we would just have the most inspiring conversations. And whether it turned into music that we released or just really good conversations and freestyles or fun stuff, like, it was always enough. And that's why I appreciate him. And I can't wait for what the future holds for that relationship and that sound. Cool people out here, man.
Yeah. Josh is insanely talented and he's so young. It completely surprises
me. It's crazy.
Now, I love that you are all about collaboration. Like, with SheHH, we're so big on, this is what, you know, we are all the kingdom. We are all what God is doing, and we all need to come together to make it happen. So yeah, thank you for that encouragement. You kind of mentioned in passing, like, you know, with hitting deadlines and stuff, being a signed artist, and you just kind of was like, oh yeah, you know, have a label. And I was like doing some digging as I was prepping for this interview. You're signed to Capital Christian Music. Like, that's huge. That's like, they have like Tasha Cobbs Leonard, they have like all the Hill songs, they have like Ty Tribbett. What is it like being signed to such a big label?
I think all of it is just learning, things to be grateful for and things to grab and learn. I think that's been the biggest lesson in the last year. Like, learning has become my new favorite thing, like listening. Okay, what is the best way to move? Figuring out that good business is also a part of being a good Christian is an interesting spin on life, right? Like realizing your value, your worth, rest, being important. I never listened to that, but I've had to learn. I think just learning, right? Growth, relationships. The people that I get to have good conversations with now are different than the people that I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no shade to anybody. It's just they can speak from a place of success and experience versus when you come from where I come from. Most people that I know haven't been successful in the music industry. They're not going to be able to tell me how to do this. And now I kind of have that kind of advice, which is a blessing.
That's good. And even with a lot of the artists that we talk to, they desire, like, part of their journey, part of their goals, their wish list, obviously it's almost New Year, is always, I would love to be signed by a label. What advice would you give them for people that like are on that journey?
I think you got to be faithful to what God has given you. And know the pros and cons of everything. Take the time, do your best to research. If you're not busy because you're touring, if you're not busy because you're doing something else, then take the time to be on YouTube and research. There's tons of free advice out there that can allow for you to not have to take a loan out from anybody until the right time. When you take, for me, just a small bit of advice, when you take a loan out, you should take the loan out knowing that you have the means to pay it back. And so being an artist that's also an entrepreneur is the win of 2022, has been for a couple of years, but is the definite win for now.
That's good. There's an artist that's also an entrepreneur that knows that they're not going to be like, hand on mouth on one thing. There's multiple.
Yeah. Learn how to flip your investments. There's real estate. There's crypto. There's NFTs. If I'm trying to work on squeezing time in for all these streams of income, because if we want to get spiritual on it, then that's the point. Streams of income. We are the living water for the masses. We're supposed to be the one that is lending, not the one needing to borrow all the time. So it's learning how to leverage your wealth, whether that be monetary or mental, right? Like, how much is your idea worth? How do I leverage this idea to create and curate the environment that I'm waiting to see?
That's so good. Wow. I feel like a lot of artists don't see it like that. And, we almost shy away from conversations about business and how to actually do this profitably. So it's really encouraging to have you kind of speak and say, no, these are the things you need to be educating yourself on. And there are resources to start that wherever you are. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And even on... Oh, sorry, continue.
No, I was saying my pleasure. I've learned a lot from mistakes, if I can be honest. So if there's a way to help somebody that loves Jesus and loves seeing people saved, avoid that, then, free game.
That's good. That's really good. We have you on social media, especially on Instagram, and you are really yourself on social, which I love. Like, I can tell that Angie is the one writing the post. It's not like, the team, let's put this, this sounds like witty. It's like, no, it's you. I can hear your voice. And that's why I was surprised to find out that you're signed, because a lot of the time when you are a signed artist, you have to present a brand image, because obviously that's the commercially viable way that's being presented. So how is it that you've been able to keep your authentic voice on socials, just on in everyday life? How have you been able to do that?
I've had to fight so hard for it in the behind the scenes. So it's just kind of part of the way that I'm learning to maneuver now. It's like, if I say it, I mean it. And I can repent too, I can learn I think that's also what helps. Authenticity is not always strength. And I think we've really got that twisted in our culture. So I've learned to just be right in whatever season. And the season is not only like winter, spring, summer, fall. It's like, I could be in a season for 2 hours. And it's something that I've learned because I didn't think like that before, if that makes sense. If I was living in a winter, an emotional winter, I would get stuck in that winter. And I would assume that I just had to kind of stay 10 toes down until the storm passed. What I've learned is that storm, especially when it's in your mind, is a storm that you can say, peace, be still, that you can pull that Jesus was sleeping in the boat while the storm happened, woke up, told the storm to be still. That's privilege we have. He said, greater things we'll do in his name. And so to maintain my authenticity is speaking the truth of, I'm feeling something right now in this hour that I'm called to post, right? And this is my truth. But the next truth of the next hour is that victory is already mine. Is that, despite what I feel, despite what I know, it's already mine. And I'm just waiting for my emotions to catch up to my spiritual awareness and the truth. So I don't know if that was a lot.
Nah, that's good. That's good.
I think I've just been learning to communicate those things, and people kind of like, they don't want to fight after that. They're just like, that's dope. Like they appreciate that. And so I've learned to appreciate it too.
I think it's amazing you're having those conversations in person, because I feel like we, as the consumer of your content, on your stories or on your posts, also actually experience that ourselves. Like, I was going to ask, like, you very often in your music, your Instagram posts are very transparent and like honest. Even as we were speaking earlier, and you're like, oh yeah, I used to talk to Josh about like I was going through a really hard depression. Like, you speak very transparently. What SheHH, like, we're so big on that, because how can we heal if everything is hidden? How can we heal? Right. How can we progress if everything is private and in the shadows? And yeah, so even just this is like a big long question, but when you are being yourself and voicing how you feel and how God is working in you, how do you do it in a way that you still protect yourself? Because of course this is so open and so many people are looking.
I haven't learned to try yet. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just do, right? Like sometimes when I can't do it, I don't do it. And then I do feel bad. Like I feel like I haven't said anything for like 5 days. I haven't, but sometimes I'm just tired, right? Like this week was my first week off and I don't even know how many months. And I was just tired and I had all these plans. I'm like, I'm going to do all these posts and I'm going to do all this and it's going to be great. But I've been writing a ton and I'm tired, right? Like I just got a couple of days off and it was like, I just want to sleep and watch my little Queen of the Flow. And I've kind of learned to like honor those times in my life. Like, it's like, yo, I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do what I got to do. We still have work to do this week. But I'm also not going to kill myself in the process of communicating a message. But I am praying to get better at that. So I guess that's how I protect myself. I don't do what I can't.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing it. It sounds like you're doing it, because I think a lot of the time when you are a public figure, you do feel that pressure to just post and to just get it out anyway. And you might be dealing with burnout, but we're here enjoying your content. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, maybe you have that balance better than you even realize you do. So yeah, just encouragement. There is a catchphrase that you always say, and I knew I had to ask you about it because I was like, there must be something here. But you always say at the end of your captions and like wherever you're posting, wherever you're speaking, Yahweh's design, the roses grew from concrete, still we bloom, with the rose emoji. Like, obviously you're Angie Rose, but what does this mean?
Funny. So I didn't even know that people noticed that. I kept copying and pasting in my comments. That's interesting. So there was a poem. It was my favorite poem as a kid, but it was Tupac's "The Rose That Grew from Concrete." And he said in one of his interviews, I believe that I'm going to inspire the mind that's going to inspire the millions. And I always felt like he was talking about me. And it's not to sound like narcissistic or anything like that. It could be so many people. But I took it from, like, I was like, well, if it could be for anybody, then it could be for me. And so I started to kind of remember the poem, and it spoke to me a lot in my life when I was like sad or down. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't feel like this is even possible. And it's like, wait, no, I'm the rose that grew from concrete. I'm not the rose that almost grew. I'm the rose that grew. Like, this happened. We're here. God allowed me to poke through and feel the sun on my face, metaphorically. So it's all okay. And then so it's just become a thing. And that actually came up, that quote, when I was going through that depression, because I was fighting really hard to just believe what God always says.
That's so good. I feel like now every time I see it, I'm gonna like actually, be able to be like, oh my gosh, I get it.
Just hit the like button, engage with it. We need all the support we can to get those algorithms moving.
We're moving, just me.
Crazy.
So there's another phrase you always say, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna have to ask about this, but you talk about creating music from past experiences and obstacles you overcome. Is there any specific song from, I mean, you've got 6 years worth of music to choose from, but is there any specific song that you can think of that was that season, and it's amazing to see how much you've moved forward from there?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Even if we talk about the first one, right? I was just a college kid. I was writing like philosophy essays. I was in love with Jesus, but just a kid, right? Confused, trying to figure out things. What church do I go to, right? Like, how can I pay this bill, this little card, that whatever it is, right? I'm just like a kid. I'm a waitress. It's like a whole different girl. Bright Lights, similar story, right? I remember when I wrote it, I was on break from school. I drive up to my parents in like Pennsylvania or something, and I sit on the bed and I write. That's kind of not even like my life anymore. Even seeing my parents all the time is not my life anymore, right? I've got to like fly them to me, or we've got to do stuff so that we can hang. Unstoppable, the first version, going through extreme depression, right? So 6 years of a career, but 4 years of music, 3, right? Because there was like 2 years I couldn't release any music. I released one song. I ran a foundation, right? I just couldn't. We went to Puerto Rico. We had an after school program. So music took like a backseat for a lot of years. But in those spans of time, like I would just be a different girl by the time I got back on the mic. Like I was saying, the Unstoppable project was extreme depression, anger, so much anger that I can hear in that project. The aggression that comes off as swag that I'm grateful for in the raps was anger. There was so much that I was facing, and I wanted to like beat people up. Like it was that real. I was just so like, and I needed God to work with me on that. So we get to the deluxe, right? Finally figuring out how to fight that depression, taking off to California because all my friends are like, just come. We believe in you. We love you. We miss you. Take a risk, create these records, fall in love with Jesus again. I mean, I'd been in love with Jesus, fall in love with his people that mean what they say. And we all are like imperfect, but that's a different girl. Then we released these projects. I tried rapping in Spanish for the first time. And now we're here. I've recently wrote my first worship song with my friend, Jonathan Traylor. We had a beautiful time in the studio, right? I'm just growing every day. Every time I get to create, it's like a new girl is doing it. And that's why I believe in the scriptures, be transformed by the renewing of your mind daily. So, yeah.
Oh, amazing. And even as you experience these new, revelations of God, even as you experience these new fall in love with him in a different way, the music reflects that. And that's what I love about you. And I know you said, okay, there were breaks in between and stuff, but if someone listens to your entire like music, not necessarily even in order, like let's say they go 2015, 2016, 2018, like I think we go on that journey with you, and it's so authentic and it's so real to experience it. Like someone who genuinely loves Jesus is loving Jesus and will continue to love Jesus. So I really want to commend you for that, for being real in music.
That's great. That's encouraging. Thank you so much.
I'm glad. I'm so glad. We're kind of going towards the end of the interview. And again, I really appreciate you giving us some time. But I would love if you could just let us know a little bit about the heart between, you mentioned it, Unstoppable, United We Can, with the deluxe album, which is even longer and even more amazing than the actual Unstoppable album. Can you let us know what the heart behind it is, and what people can leave with it?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I was fighting that depression. I fly out to Cali. I'm working with somebody who introduces me to Victory Outreach, which is a global church, and they have two things that I'm interested in, right? They have these homes where they help people that struggle with drug addiction. They literally house them, feed them, get them free. Some of them become pastors, leaders in the church over time. Like it's a beautiful program. They don't use anything to take them down, right? They just pray with them. It's just amazing how it works. And they have a missions department, evangelism, called United We Can. So meeting them and traveling to their churches and meeting the women that struggle with these addictions and the men inspired me. And so we came up with the project United We Can, which was me using my past, which identified with their past, to help them be free, help us be free in our future and in our present. So you see, like for me, I see the whole journey. Like I see all the anger, all the depression, all the fear, all the anxiety, and then I see all the victory, all the trust, all the faith. as I'm continuing to evolve, because I'm already, while this releases, I'm already working on what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already in a new space writing. So I'm seeing literally myself, like God, to God be the glory, write and change the way that I write, which means that he's changing my heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? Yeah. So if he's changing my heart so that my lyrics are becoming more true, more uplifting, more direct to the heart, I'm just, all I can say is I'm grateful for all of it. So what they can leave with is that there's a girl that's literally still journeying, and kind of like letting my journal rhyme for the world, like the melody,
I love that. Yeah, I feel like that's the experience that you get as you go through the song. So I really pray that people leave with that. And yeah, final question. I literally don't want this to end because I feel like I'm loving everything you have to say. It's really real. It's really impactful. I feel like it's teaching me more about just being aware of the journey that God is at work in me as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't want it to end, but I also am aware that you have like the rest of your day. So
honestly, I've been on vacation this week. I'm going to go try to see a movie. Like I'm just enjoying my time. I was going to say, so as I've been doing again recently, I haven't been talking as much on socials, but for a long time, I didn't talk at all. We started doing Coffee with Rose. People really identified with that. I'm fighting to bring that back in the new year, not with anybody, just my schedule and my commitment to being there present all the time. But we started something called a Patreon, and there's fans that are like global, and there's plans that are like $5 a month, all the way up, right? All these fans just decide how they want to support. You can adjust them monthly. We've been meeting together and actually building. We have prayer time. We have a personal chat where we all meet up. We have Bible study time. They hear new music before it comes out, demos. So I'm extending this invitation as an artist that we can say is signed, but is also fighting really hard because I'm a Christian in a mainstream industry. So they're not necessarily waiting for my sound outside of the fact that I don't curse, right? Keeping it just straight up blunt. But God has provided. And one of the ways he's been doing that is through fans that have actually committed to helping me continue to release music as I grow through this career. So I just wanted to shout that out. If anybody, is interested in joining that, it would be fun to get to know all definitely. Of whoever.
I love patrons as well because they do make the fans feel like they are connected to the artist and they
really are.
So yeah, I love that. Yeah,
just some testimony. We've had like people that we've been praying for. They couldn't afford their bills or rent or anything, and we just prayed for them, and we wanted to help. So we were already trying to figure out ways. Jumps in the message group and she's like, God did it. I don't have to worry about rent for the next 6 months. My bills are paid. Like just amazing things. The testimonies have been really fun because we're actually praying. We're actually in the word where we actually get to talk. It's Zoom links. So it's not just me talking to a screen. We pray for each other. We exchange heart. It's been really fun.
Oh, wow. And you actually get to see like people's faces and hear their hearts, and it's encouraging. I feel like this is the type of thing that more Christian artists should do because it just makes us feel like, because you're kind of the celebrity and we're the fan. And then it's like the celebrity actually wants to connect with you, and you both have the same heart because you're both Christians, you both believe this word. So that's an amazing encouragement and an amazing thing to do. And I just pray that people can get involved and bless your ministry, I suppose.
Thank you.
But yeah, final question, and then I'll let you be free. So this is kind of one way that we like to end our interviews here at SheHH. But you have done so much and you're on the way to do even more. But what is one thing that you believe that you would like if your one thing you wish and pray that, when it's your time to go, that will be the legacy that people remember you by?
That I encourage people to love Jesus, to try their best, to fulfill their purpose, right? Don't just live, don't just survive, thrive, be fruitful. Let your life matter, right? Let it resonate. When you go down into the dirt, may your story continue to have life because it has breath. Value the breath.
Value the breath. I love that. Now, this interview has been definitely one of my favorites. Like, my heart is being encouraged. I'm so encouraged. So yeah, honestly, Angie, I really, really, really want to thank you and really want to appreciate you for giving us this time.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there anything else you would love us to know before we close it off?
Please keep streaming the new single. There is a video on YouTube. Please subscribe. If the more that you hit the follow buttons or the bells or whatever, all these stuff that they have, the more that the algorithm helps me to reach more people. We don't have a ton of money, but we have a ton of heart, and so we work hard. So as much as people can support in that, it's Angie Rose Music. It's Angie Rose everywhere: Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me. Support the movement. We're looking to see the world love Jesus and feel peace.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating wherever you're listening to this and to follow us on Instagram at SheHH Podcast.